You ready, Andy?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just waiting for the music.
Hello everybody and welcome to another, oh my god, I can't believe the new trailer for The Matrix has come out, episode of Poddywood. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and with me as always is...
That would be me, Andrew Roger Carson. I'm behaving this week.
That makes a change.
Does make a change. It's the trauma of that Street Fighter episode that's going to stay with me forever.
I had a lot of fun doing that Street Fighter episode, and we've been getting some good feedback from it. Kind of across the board, and particularly from one of our Patreon guys, Luke. Hi, Luke. He delved right into that. Absolutely adored it. And I can't wait to do another one, actually.
Well, we're glad that we amuse you in our own little way.
Yes.
But yes, the Matrix trailer, I know you kind of had to mention it.
Oh, I had to, because I think I mentioned on here ages ago that I wasn't really too thrilled about it. And then I saw the trailer, and now I'm thrilled about it. So I can't wait.
Fair enough. I was more into... Did someone step on a duck? Was that you?
That was me being excited.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you were doing this episode from the bath, and that was your duck.
You wish.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've kind of flagged up on this week, and I just read it this morning, is that the creator of The Sopranos is extremely angry, in brackets.
What did we do?
No, not at us, for once.
Good.
But the creator of The Sopranos is extremely angry at the prequel film is streaming on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. So this has come around again, hasn't it? The old people getting pissed off about things streaming when they should be in cinemas.
You think that's bad? Wait until Dune gets released simultaneously. But to be honest, when you've got the creator of The Sopranos saying that he's extremely angry, that should be a red flag. But speaking of red flags... Let's talk about what's in the box from last week. Yes, that was the best segue.
Well done.
Segue. I guess you had to go and watch Flags of Our Fathers, which was Clint Eastwood's American side Iwo Jima movie.
Yes, it was. Now, the end of last week's episode, you said that I had to watch both of them. And I decided that I wasn't going to. I was going to fight against the evilness of your dictatorship, and I only watched the one. Mainly...
No, you didn't. You
yes,
absolute liar.
Yes, I did.
Last night you messaged me saying, "Oh, I've got to get into Letters from Iwo Jima," and I flagged up to you the fact that I said when I told you who the guest was for this week, I said, "Yeah, just watch Flags of Our Fathers, and you can watch Letters from Iwo Jima next week." Don't lie to our fan base, Steve. Don't lie. Don't be that guy, Steve.
You're a bastard. You know that, don't you?
Yes, but I'm a fact-checked bastard.
Yes. Well, anyway, yes, I did watch Flags of Our Fathers, which is I suppose it is a true story. Oh, it's an interpretation of a true story about the very, very famous picture, which was the soldiers on the island of Iwo Jima during the Second World War who raised a US flag. Now, you will know this picture even if you live in a cave somewhere.
Or you've seen the statue.
You've seen the statue, you've seen the picture, you've seen the propaganda. And this movie is all about three soldiers in particular. You've got John Doc Bradley, Rennie Gagnon, I can't remember how you pronounce his name.
Very Brooklyn-style name, though.
Yep. And Ira Hayes, who were picked out to drive the purchase of bonds to fund the US war effort. It's intercut between their stories back over in the US and the actual fight to take the island. And like you said, Andy, it's a companion piece to Letters from Iwo Jima. This all takes place from the US side. Letters from Iwo Jima takes place all from the perspective of the Japanese. And it's an interesting movie. I don't think it's particularly put together as well as it could be. Sometimes it flits back and forth between flashback, flash forward, and then flashes further back, and then the actual timeline doesn't quite mesh as well as it could do. But I did think it was a really, really well done film. The opening section in particular, I was watching it thinking, this reminds me of Saving Private Ryan as they're storming the beach and you've got the Japanese emplacements that are opening fire. And then I found out later on that it was actually produced by Steven Spielberg. He was trying to get it off the ground for some time. Then Clint Eastwood came along and said, "No, I'm going to do this film with you." And then Steve went, okay, because you don't want to tell Clint Eastwood no.
Clint was having a really bad day the day you said that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I've got to stop doing impressions. Oh, God, I sound so terrible.
So some you get spot on, and then others you're just like, I would never have guessed that in a million years. I'm gonna direct a movie, punk. That sounds nothing like him.
No, it doesn't.
But yes, I do get what you're saying. Apparently, Clint Eastwood wanted the rights for the longest time, and then discovered that Steven Spielberg owned the rights. And I think they were at something like a governor's ball or something like that. And
yeah, it was some kind of party.
About it. Some kind of rich elitist party where they just started talking about it, and next thing you know, they were together and making these two movies. It was budgeted at 80 million, but it actually cost 55 million to shoot Flags to Our Fathers. So it shot at nearly half of the shoot schedule as well.
Yeah.
Now, Letters from Iwo Jima was budgeted at around 20 million, and it cost 15 million. So already they were under schedule and under budget. And both movies were around 70 million in budget combined.
Yeah.
Now, the rumour mill, apparently, and I'm sure Mr. Daly is really going to tell me otherwise, but the rumour mill says that Warner Brothers kind of inflated the budget as part of a campaign because they felt that Letters from Iwo Jima had Oscars potential.
I could see that, and watching it really... Well, sorry, Letters of Iwo Jima does. I'm guessing. I've not actually got around to watching that yet, but this...
You'll sound like such an idiot next week.
I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused because there's two films, and it's pretty much the same thing, and I haven't watched the second one. Yes. I'm getting confused with which one I watched.
Did you just watch a movie last night called Letters from My Father?
No. Actually, speaking of which, I actually watched this not last night, but the night before. And
random cheating.
No, not random cheating, because I was intending to watch Letters from Iwo Jima last night, and then you sent me the message saying, no, don't bother, do it next week. So I ended up watching Tron Legacy in 3D. Yay. But no, it was actually a really, really well-performed movie, and there's tons of little cameo roles almost with some big name actors such as Robert Patrick. You've got Jamie Bell, Billy Elliot himself, who plays Iggy, who goes missing at the beginning. And this is an example of what I mean about the randomness of the timeline, because he disappears earlier on in the movie in a foxhole, and then he's brought up later on, but I'd completely forgotten by that point I knew that someone had gone missing, but I couldn't remember who it was that had actually gone missing. And then they just kept on bringing up this character called Iggy, and I'm there going, who the hell's Iggy? But I think the biggest piece of interest is the actual situation surrounding the erection of the flag, insofar as there are actually two flags that went up, and it's mentioned in the movie.
The second one that went up is the one that's photographed. They basically staged it, apparently, the second time for that infamous photograph.
So there's many references within the film about who was there at the time and who put up the flag, because the first group of soldiers to erect the flag were then going back down the hill by the time the second lot had arrived to then put up the second flag, because the first flag was taken down on the orders of an actual general, I think, or some kind of commanding officer who said that he wanted it for the war effort himself. And so there's lots of issues surrounding that throughout the film, as the three soldiers are there trying to come to terms with who should be there, and then pretty much all of their squadron was wiped out during the battle, because the erection of the flag only took place on the fifth day, and there was another 30-odd days of fighting which went on before the island was captured. But what I did find out later on, and this is kind of interesting, is that the three soldiers that I mentioned, two of them apparently have been flagged up as not being in the photograph.
Very true. Yeah.
Gagnon and Doc Bradley, people have worked out that it wasn't them, and should be Private First Class Harold Keller and Corporal Harold Schultz. It just goes to show how awkward this whole thing is, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's still being disputed as much as 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, they were still raising dispute over the flag raisers and their identities. So it is one of those stories that keeps getting controversy. No more controversy than, obviously, Spike Lee aims at the movies.
Yes.
Yes.
I did read that as well, yeah.
Yes, he heavily criticised Clint at the Cannes Film Festival when it came out because it didn't showcase the African-American Marines at Iwo Jima. When in truth, I mean, the movie was about the Marines who raised the flag. Okay? And black and white soldiers back in the day were segregated during World War II. So you can kind of see exactly where it was coming from. And then, of course, Clint Eastwood just told Spike Lee to shut his face very publicly. So I just think he needs to shut his face. And it's like, you won't be the first person who Spike Lee's pissed off, but, and Spike Lee ended up calling Clint Eastwood a grumpy old man. So, that was cutting. But it got to a point where it's like, these two guys are going to get into it. This will be brilliant.
Yeah, I don't even care how old Clint is. I do not want to piss him off.
No. Speaking of people on that movie who potentially pissed him off, did you realise, did you identify that David Rasche was in the movie?
No.
Who some of you might remember as playing the lead in a TV show called Sledgehammer, which was a parody of Dirty Harry.
Oh, yes. Oh,
can you imagine that day on set?
I remember reading that, but he did have quite a good sense of humour about it. Which
Clint apparently did find it funny. He was a fan of the series, which was just a pure riff on the Dirty Harry movies.
Well, if we're going to be talking about people that's in it, there's just have to give a quick pause, because one of those actors who you see in a lot of stuff, but you can never remember their names, Barry Pepper, was in this. He was also in Saving Private Ryan. So it's like he just seems to be attracted to Steven Spielberg war films. But though I will say, why has he not got a doctorate yet? He's missing a trick.
Yes. There we go. Maybe we can start a bit of a movement.
Yeah.
So yes, that was What's in the Box from this week. Did you enjoy the movie?
I did. I actually have a fondness for that kind of period in history, and I thought the movie was actually well done. I think if I had to have any negative points, I'd say that, like I said, the editing was a little bit choppy, and the music didn't quite fit as well as it should have done. It sounds like it should have fit, but it just didn't. It just sounded a little bit off. But no, I enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to watching Letters from Iwo Jima to see what things were like from the other side, the other perspective.
Exactly. Just to commemorate the anniversary of Iwo Jima. But I think there's some other anniversaries we've got to talk about this week, Steve.
We watch them again all of the time, or we get them on Prime for free. But we only know how old they are when we learn their anniversary.
We don't need no stinking backers.
That song, I'm convinced you're slowing down every week.
I'm not touching it.
That felt like a fortnight.
I'm not touching it.
Okay.
I'm just going to do it one day. It's just going to be one note. Yeah. It's going to be like, name that tune.
It will be. Anyway, we've got 4 anniversaries this week that I have ploughed through history to bring to us today. And we're going to start at 40 years. Can you believe, Steve?
Yes, Andy.
40 years ago this week, the movie Arthur was released.
Ooh, Dudley and Liza Minnelli. Was it Liza Minnelli? Yeah.
Dudley Moore's most remembered role that apparently was based on Peter Cook, would you believe?
I can actually, yeah.
His breakout movie role on his own, and he brings his comedy partner and basically lampoons him. But this was directed by a director by the name of Steve Gordon, who only directed 2 movies, Arthur being one of them. But before he sadly died in 1982, the year following this movie, of heart failure. But he was actually a writer for the Dick Van Dyke Show, as well as writing that movie where Henry Winkler was a wrestler. I can't remember the name of it now. It's something like The Greatest or The One and Only or something along that line. And it had that infamous song by Christopher Cross that gets really annoying as the years go on.
Which one? Because as soon as you said Christopher Cross, all I thought was just, crisscross and make it jump, crisscross and make it jump.
That song would have been probably better than The Best That You Can Do is Fall in Love. Oh, God, it's such an annoying song.
It sounds horrible. Don't sing it. I don't want it in my head.
It's that song you always hear on hospital radio. It's terrible. But I always remember at least one story from Arthur, which is probably one of my most favourite stories. It's in regards to Liza Minnelli. Apparently they're doing the scene where, she gets on the bus. She says goodbye to him and gets on the bus. Now, when filming this scene, all goes well. She gets on the bus and it's a perfect shot and everything. But the problem was, it wasn't the right bus she got on.
Oh...
which she only realised as she saw all the crew laughing as she was being driven away down blocks. So in between the bus getting ready to come in, a real bus actually pulled up. God. She gets on it, films the scene fine, and is driven about 5 blocks away. Yeah. Which is...
Why am I going to Brooklyn? What's going on here?
That's brilliant. I'd love to know if that's the actual shot that's in the movie as well.
Oh.
Okay, let's go for 25 years. 25 years ago this week, Joel Schumacher's A Time to Kill was released.
Oh, haven't seen it, but I think that got brought up recently.
And we were talking about it with Bill, I believe.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, obviously this was directed by Joel Schumacher of Phantom of the Opera or Other Side of the Scale, Batman and Robin. Just for that sound effect. And this was one of Matthew McConaughey's really major first roles.
Yeah, I think this was one of the first ones where he moved away from being the kind of dumb surfer guy like he was in Dazed and Confused and was actually starting to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I think prior to this, he had a bit part in a Bill Murray movie, Bill Murray in an Elephant movie or something. I can't remember what it was called. And he was also in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel.
With Renee Zellweger.
Yes, with Renee Zellweger, that's the one. But Matthew actually auditioned for the role that Kiefer Sutherland plays in the movie. And so apparently he didn't think he was qualified for the lead role because he hadn't had major exposure at that point. But I think Joel Schumacher gave him a screen test for it. And, this is a role that really catapulted him into the lead. And originally, Kevin Costner was considered for the Jake Brigance role that Matthew McConaughey played. But as rumour goes, he wanted full control of the film, and John Grisham apparently said no.
Right.
And this was his first book. This was actually his first novel, and I think it was probably his fourth one that was turned into a movie. But he based it off a testimony in a trial that he witnessed about a young girl who was raped, and that's how this entire novel was made and then into a movie. And it is a really good movie.
I'm going to have to check it out. I know it is a good movie because I have heard people wax lyrical about it many a time. But no, I haven't seen it. Going to have to. Add it to the list. Stick it in the box.
Okay, it might already be in there. I know one that is in there, though, which you've already probably seen. But 15 years ago this week, Talladega Nights, the ballad of Ricky Bobby, was released. You've not seen it, have you?
No, but to be honest, that was around about a period where Will Ferrell was basically doing the same character in the same movie, just changing occupation.
It's very true. This movie was actually pitched as Will Ferrell as a NASCAR driver. That was basically the entire pitch to get this movie off the ground.
Yeah, just like Blades of Glory, just in a car.
Yeah. But this one, directed by Academy Award winner Adam McKay, amazing writer-director who has come to prominence over the last couple of years as the writer-director of movies like Vice and The Big Short as well. It also starred John C. Reilly in his umpteenth appearance alongside Will Ferrell. The movie is a spoof on Days of Thunder, which John C. Reilly was also in.
There you go.
So
it must have been right after Prisoners of War. No, Casualties of War, not Prisoners of War.
Jeez, you're not on it today, are you?
I'm not. I'm tired. I've been working.
You're piss-pronunciating all your worms.
Yes.
So, one thing I do remember about Talladega Nights is the first 400 PlayStation 3s came with a free copy of this movie.
I can believe that. They probably wanted to get rid of them. They just had a stack of them at the Sony headquarters. They thought, no, get rid of them. Get rid of them.
Very true. Finally, 10 years ago this week, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was released, which was a remake of the John le Carré novel/series. It was directed by Thomas Alfredson, who had directed the fantastic Let the Right One In and the not-so-fantastic The Snowman. starring Michael Fassbender. But this was a really great movie. It was Gary Oldman's first Oscar. How's that possible?
I don't know. It should have been ages ago. Because Gary Oldman has been... I think we discussed this ages ago, you and me. We were talking about how many times Gary Oldman has been a good guy in movies versus how many times he's been a bad guy. This is one of the few where he was actually a good guy. But I haven't seen this. I have seen the original years ago with Alec Guinness in it.
Yes.
But for some reason, the only thing that keeps coming back to me with this name is a line from The Thick of It.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But yes, Tinker Sailor Soldier Spy, a great look of London in the 70s, filmed with a very voyeuristic approach. It's a really good film. Actually, I was surprised that it was 10 years old.
Yeah, I honestly thought that came out only a few years ago. Decade, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it for Anniversaries. And speaking of a few years ago, I guess it's time to invite our guest into the room. A couple of years ago, I got to know an actor by the name of Tommy Hinkley, whose career has been running many years since making his first TV appearance in the short-lived TV series Hard Knocks, along with Bill Maher, as well as his first movie role in the comedy movie Back to the Beach. Now, I recognise Tommy mainly from his role in Emilio Estevez's cult comedy Men at Work, where he played Jeff, one of two bicycle cops tormenting Charlie Sheen and Emilio through the course of the movie. Now, looking over Tommy's impressive resume of roles on TV and movies and getting to know the man myself opened up so many talks about such great movies like the school football screwball comedy Leatherheads, the iconic LA lifestyle of Steve Martin's LA Story, The Bridge at the Enterprise on Star Trek Generations, and such classic shows as China Beach, ER, Night Court, list goes on and on. As well as an established actor, he's also been a teacher of theatre arts for children in Boulder, Colorado. Today, he joins us from Colorado to reminisce about some memorable points of his career and tell us some stories along the way. Good morning, Tommy. How are the mountains?
The mountains are pretty good, but we did leave Boulder. We are in Boise.
Well, how's Boise and how are the mountains? How are those mountains in Boise?
They're actually really beautiful, and we're right by a lake, and it's really relaxing out here in Boise.
Oh, sounds absolutely idyllic.
I bet you he's sat by a window right now overlooking a lake. Squirrels and mooses on his yard. We're here in this horrible UK climate, seeing crime, drive-by shootings, and dead squirrels.
And Tory politicians.
Yes.
Well, we do have the dead squirrels here in Boise, but we also have a beaver. I've seen beaver in the lake out by the house.
I'm not even going there with that joke, Steve. I know what you were leading me into. I am not doing that joke.
I teed it up.
I don't need to. Steve would have laughed before I even said anything.
I already am. As soon as you said the word beaver, I was off.
Anyway,
we're a serious show about movies. Let's get our heads on.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, Tommy, first of all, I want to thank you for coming and joining us this week. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And I have to say, after doing my research this week, every once in a while I see something that kind of really blows my mind. And this kind of happened this week when I read that, as I mentioned, your career started with, it was kind of a buddy cop TV show where you were partnered with Bill Maher, of Real Time with Bill Maher, and it was called Hard Knocks. And this, just reading the kind of read up on the show, it sounds totally nuts. But it can't be found anywhere. How did this show come around?
I don't know the genesis of it, but I knew Bill. When I was studying theater in New York from '82 to '86. One of my jobs was I was a doorman at maybe the most popular comedy club in New York at the time, Catch a Rising Star. I was a doorman there. And so I knew all the comedians, and they all came in there, whether it was Sam Kinison or Robin Williams, Richard Belzer, Rodney Dangerfield had his own club down the street, but he would come up to Catch a Rising Star to try out his new material. And he would show up in a robe, which was hilarious. So I had just moved to LA. And I had never been on television. I'd never had an agent. I'd never been on camera before. And I had just moved to LA. I was there for 2 weeks, sleeping on a friend's couch in Silver Lake. And one night they're like, "Hey, we're going to take you to your first Hollywood party." And like, I'm all pumped. So they drive us into West Hollywood, and we're going to this Hollywood party, and I'm all pumped. I'm looking good. And it's like, 9 o'clock, and it's like 9:30, 9:45. And they're like, "Man, this party's dead. We're going to go home." And I'm like, "Wait, it's only like 9:45, 10 o'clock. I mean, parties in New York don't start till, like midnight." And they go, "Tommy, this isn't New York. This party's not happening." And I went, "Well, I'll tell you what, you guys go home. I'll get a ride home." They go, "Tommy," I go, you know me, I'll get a ride." So they go. I'm staying at this party that's going to happen, and it's 11 o'clock. It's 11:30. It's midnight. This party is not happening. And I'm just kind of there hanging out by myself, looking around, and I feel like an idiot. So I'm like, okay, I am an idiot, and now I've got to walk home, probably a 3-hour walk to Silver Lake, and it's midnight. So I start walking, and just after like maybe 5, 6, 7 blocks, I see the Improv, the comedy club. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to know a bunch of comedians in there. Someone will give me a ride home. Walk in the front door, and the first person I see is a writer-comedian and a friend named Ron Zimmerman. And he's like, "Hey, Tommy." I go, "Oh, hey, Ron." He's like, "Well, you're an actor, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, are you here on vacation, or did you move here?" I go, I moved here." He goes, "Well, look, you know Bill Maher, right?" I go, "Yeah, I know Bill Maher." And he goes, "Well, I'm a writer on his new show. It's a pilot called Hard Knocks." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's great. Congratulations." He's like, "Well, we can't find anybody to play his partner. Bill plays like the long-haired, super intelligent detective who hates violence. And we need someone to play the short-haired, dumb guy who loves violence. That could be you."
I'm in.
I'm in. Boy, you nailed me. And so I tell him, I go, "Oh, you know what? That's okay. I've never done anything. I don't want to embarrass you. I mean, you're talking about leading the show with Bill." And he goes, "Please, Tommy, come in." I go, "Really, I don't want to embarrass you. I've never done anything before." He goes, "Please, Tommy, we've seen over 200 actors. Please do me a favor. Please come in for this show." I'm like, you're begging me to come in. I'm like, I'm an idiot again. So I go, "Okay, I'll come in." So he sets it up for a few days later. So I take a bus to Paramount Studios, and I go to the office that they said, the executive's office. There's a bench out in front. I'm waiting my turn. I fall asleep on the bench, and the cast director comes out and goes, "Oh, Tommy." I go, "Oh, hi." And they go, "Were you just asleep?" I go, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm fine." They go, "Really, you want to take some time?" I go, "No, I'm ready. I'll come in." So I go in, and it goes well. And there's a line where there's a line where my character says "earthquake," and I'm in this executive's office, and of course he has these huge fake plants. And so I just grab one of the plants, and I'm shaking the shit out of it. I'm like, "Earthquake!" And they're all looking like, "Oh my God, what the hell is happening here?" So I think it goes well. So I leave. They say, "Thank you very much." And I'm headed across this great lawn to the bus to get back on the bus. And the cast director comes running out. It's like, "Hey, Tommy, come back." I'm like, is everything okay?" They go, "Yeah, they want to sign you to a test option deal." I go, "A what?" They go, "A test option deal?" I go, "Yeah, I don't know what that is." They go, "Oh, okay, well, who's your agent?" I go, I don't have an agent." They go, "Wait, what?" I go, "No, I've never done anything before." They go, "Oh my God. Okay, well, I have a friend that's an agent. Let him negotiate your deal, and then if you like him, you can stay with him." And then next thing I know, I'm the lead on a series with Bill Maher in my first audition. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Is that how it works? Anyway, so yeah, and that's how Hard Knocks came around. We only did 13 episodes, and it was kind of a drag because it was Peter Chernin, who's huge now, and I think it was somebody Sobel And they were the two heads of Showtime at the time, and this was their baby. And a month before the decision to be made whether to pick up the show or not, one of the two guys leaves. I think it was Peter leaves. And then 2 weeks before the decision, the other guy left. So now the two guys that came in, they had no stake in the show. I mean, in the fourth episode, we blew up the world. We ended the world in the fourth episode. So it was a very broad comedy. And they just, that's why it was short-lived, because it was actually a really good show. But yeah, nobody can see it. Good luck.
Well, around the same time frame, you land your first movie role being in Back to the Beach. Now, straight away, you're working with a female director, one of the few doing movies around this time, Lyndall Hobbs, who was also the director of Saturday Night Live. Now, I've heard that if the pitch for Hard Knocks was nuts, this was something else. How did you land this movie?
Okay, so the creator of Hard Knocks was Chris Thompson. May he rest in peace, because he's not with us anymore.
Yeah.
But he also created Bosom Buddies, by the way, which was the Tom Hanks.
Yes. God, that is going back.
Yeah. So this was one of his latest shows, and his wife, Lyndall Hobbs, was doing Back to the Beach, directing Back to the Beach, and Chris was one of the rewriters on Back to the Beach. So they brought me in for the role of the best friend, Mountain, and this was just my second audition, and I get the role, and I'm like, wow, I guess if you got it, you got it. Again, I don't know anything, so I get the role, and then like 2 weeks go by, and the producer calls me up and says, hey, Tommy. The part of Mountain is yours, and we love you as Mountain. But you know what? We can't find anybody to play the lead. Would you mind auditioning for the role? And I'm like, okay. And I get the part. And so now it's me and Lori Loughlin and Frankie Avalon and Nat Funicello. And it took off. But again, this was everybody that I grew up with watching on television, because I grew up watching 60s and 70s television. And all of a sudden I'm working with Get Smart. I'm working with the people from Leave It to Beaver and Gilligan's Island, and Connie Stevens is my mom. I mean, this is amazing. And so I was having the time of my life. But, looking back on it, it was also a loss of innocence, because I remember I had my own apartment by this time in Silver Lake. And I remember one day I was just on my bed on my back looking up at the ceiling, and I was just started crying, because all of a sudden it was like, this is not about my love or passion for acting. This now is a job, and it is in that reality of this is how I make money. It's not about, again, it's not about the love or the passion. To me, that's what that was like for me. And I remember one day early on in the shooting, they had to get a shot. Lyndall needed a shot, and they had and the first AD's like, we got to go. We got to break for lunch. She's like, no, we got to get this one shot. She goes, Tommy, I just need you to pick up the surfboard and you just walk from the bed to the bathroom. He goes, we got like 60 seconds. Goes, Tommy, just do it. I go, well, I mean, let me rehearse it once. Let me just, what side am I going to carry the surfboard on? Am I right or my left? Am I going to walk funny? Am I going to, what am I going to do? She goes, Tommy, just do it. I go, Lyndall, I don't know. She goes, Tommy, do it now. And I just did it. And then everybody broke for lunch right away. And then I just stayed in the bathroom there, and I just was crying. And I'm just like, wow, that was my first acting experience in my life like that. And again, it was just that, Now, we had a great relationship, and we're still friends, and the shoot was so fun. It was just that one thing. But but that was a tough, moment in a really great ride. But just memorable nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the kind of story that you generally hear a lot of people talk about. A lot of people work so hard to just land in these positions, and they've got this idea that it's going to be fantastic in, being a lead in a movie. But you kind of lose something very pure along the way, which I think you're probably the first person I've ever heard really address that. And I think it's a big warning for a lot of these young actors and that now who are just starting out, who absolutely love the work, that there is that kind of transference over when it does become a career.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a very wise story to tell. But another little funny anecdote here that I got is you appeared in a few low-budget horror movies. One especially called The Terror Within.
Yes.
Which was released the same year as the similar in plot movie Watchers, released by Roger Corman.
Yep.
And the funny part here is that whilst The Terror Within got a sequel in 1991, you jumped over to the sequel to Watchers in the same year.
I did, because it was the same director. He was a Swiss director named Terry Knotts, and he directed the first Terror Within, and then he directed Watchers 2 with Tracy Scoggins. And I just played a lab assistant, and that was a small role. And I think I even forgot that I had done it until I saw it on my resume a couple of years later or something like that. I was like, oh, I forgot I did Watchers 2, which
with
I don't
Mark
know how.
Singer.
See, I didn't meet him because I don't think he was in my scene or two. I do remember Tracy Scoggins because, you know, she was hot.
She was in the day. She was, bless her.
But again, you know, and here it is. This was kind of my life in acting. Was here, so here I am in The Terror Within with a really fun supporting role of the tech and the computer kid, but working with George Kennedy.
Wow,
brilliant!
Yeah, brilliant. And he was very old at that time, and of course, but he was really very just loving and supporting, and just you could just tell he's just a solid rock of a human being. So it was a real pleasure to work with him.
A few months back, we did a show with Mark Marshall on, and we did it the day after we lost Richard Donner, who was a truly great director and is really irreplaceable in this business. And everyone seems to have a Dick Donner story. And just the other day, me and you were talking about you appearing in Lethal Weapon 2, of which you have your own Dick Donner story to share with us.
Yeah, so a dear friend of mine, an actor that's been around for a long time, I think one of his more recent jobs was Homeland, David Marciano. So he was a dear friend of mine for many years, and I was going to this audition to play one of the cops, one of the detectives on Lethal Weapon 2. And I was on the Warner Brothers lot, and I'm walking down this pathway to the office, and I see him on the steps, and his with his his head between his legs, and he just looks like he's in a bad place. And so there was a thing that we would always do at parties when we would run into each other around town. I'd go, Aldo, and he would go, Aldo. And so I see him and I go, Aldo, and he doesn't give it back. And I'm like, Aldo. And he just shakes his head, doesn't even look at me. And I'm like, Aldo. And he's like, Tommy, I'm in a bad place right now. I can't go in. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, I'm not having a good day. I can't go in. I go, you know what? Let's you and I go in together. Let's go in together. And so we talked to, I think it was Marion Doherty, I think. And she's like, well, let me ask. And so she went in. I guess she talked to Richard Donner, Dick Donner, and and he said, yeah, bring him in. So we go in, and all of a sudden we're tag teaming Richard Donner, and we start calling him Dick. We're like, hey, Dick, and I'm like, oh my God, Dick, you brought your dog to work? And he was, we can't call that a dog. That's more of a pet. I mean, that thing's tiny. Like you could dust a table with that thing. And we're just riffing. And he's like, oh my God, who are these guys? And he's like, okay, I don't know if I have a part for you guys as a tandem, but I'm going to find something for you guys. I just love you guys. And so we go off and they start shooting, and we're not getting any phone calls. Our agents call and they go, oh yeah, Dick loves them. So have them come down to the set. So we go down to the set at Warner Brothers or on a sound stage, and he's upstairs shooting a scene in I guess in Danny Glover's bedroom or something. And he comes down, and we have improv the scene that we put into the movie, and that David wrote. And so we come down, and we're going to pitch it to Richard Donner. And he goes, okay, so we think he's going to take us into like his office or something, and we'll just do this. And he goes, all right, hey, everybody gather around. We're like, wait, what? And all the writers, the crew's coming around. He's like, okay, boys, so what do you got? We're like, so we just do it. And we do this, we improv this scene of these bonehead cops that show up late. So like, you know, when there's the crime scene and then everybody's, you know, pulling out and they're leaving and it's all over, we come up like, hey, everybody, hey, where's everybody going? And we do this whole thing. They're all laughing. The crew's laughing. Richard Donner's laughing. He's like, oh my God, okay. And he turns to one of the writers and he goes, put them in this movie. Find a spot for them. I want them in the movie. And we're like, okay, great. So a couple times, so more time goes by. We're not getting any phone calls. We call up, the agents call, and they go, okay, we just heard back. Show up on the set in like 3 days. And so we're downtown. We're at this, you know, police station. And he's like, okay, you guys come onto the set. We're rehearsing this scene. We watch him rehearse this scene that's got, you know, Danny and Mel. And then he looks at us and he goes, okay, you guys, you got 45 minutes to light it, and then we'll come back and we'll shoot it. And he turns to us and he goes, all right, boys, you got 45 minutes to put yourself in this scene. And then he walks off. We're like, what? So there was a Thanksgiving storyline in Lethal Weapon 2. So one of the extras had like a live turkey that they were walking on a leash or something like that. And so we came up with this idea that, hey, we're going to do a rap. So I'm holding the turkey, and David's got these tickets, and he's selling these tickets. And we come up with this rap. Take a chance on a turkey that's alive. Dig in your pocket and give us 5. We do this whole rap thing. He's like, oh my God, that's genius. So he films it, and we tack it to the end of the scene, and it's great, and it's really funny. The crew's laughing. So, and then we have this little scene where in the beginning of the movie, there's a chase scene, and Danny's in his wife's station wagon or something, and we're all listening to it at the police station, and over the scanner, and then we're taking bets.
Yes,
that was our other little scene. Yes. So, and I have one line in that. So we're waiting, and the movie comes out, and we're not in it, except for that one little scene placing the bets. And we find out that they were like 20 minutes over, and instead of, you know, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes here, they just dropped the Thanksgiving storyline. So they dropped the rap, and I'm like, oh my God, that was the best scene ever, ever.
That actually rings a bell now, because there's a deleted ending scene where Patsy Kensit, yeah, she comes back alive. That makes sense now.
So that was so I was, but the thing was is that what one thing my wife loves about Lethal Weapon 2 is that we made, I think, $1,500 for the 2 days that we were there. We were there for 2 days because we had to come back and shoot the other scene. And for 2 days, for $1,500 for 2 days, and in residuals, we probably made like, you know, 30 grand over the course of 20 years. Now, of course, those residuals now are like a penny or, you know, a nickel or something. But yeah. Anyway, so that was and the thing is that Richard Donner, I ran into him at a restaurant and I was like, hey, Richard, it's Tommy Hinkley. He goes, I know who you are. And he goes, you guys were awesome. You guys were fantastic. And please, Tommy, if you ever see that I'm doing another movie, will you let me know and I'll find a spot for you? And I'm like, that's the kind of guy he was. Of course, I never did that. Yeah, he was a great guy. And I loved his wife's movie, Lauren, Radio Flyer.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told him that, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I will let her know that you said that." And yeah, he was a great man and a real pleasure to work with, and I'm lucky that I have that story to tell.
Well, just for you, I'm gonna go and watch Lethal Weapon 2 a few times on Netflix. I'll get you. I'll get you a few more dollars. But simultaneous with you scoring all these movie roles and really starting to build a steady career in television, you appeared in China Beach. It's a favorite of yours, Andy.
Yes,
I know that. So how was the balance then between movies and TV? And did you find yourself jumping sets a lot, as 1990 was a big breakout year for you?
Yeah, 90 was a good year. That was another one. Yeah, China Beach was fun because Don Cheadle was in that episode that I did, and I played like the racist guy. And so we had a little thing, Don Cheadle and I. I don't remember a lot about it except that we had a thing and we did it, and it was awesome. That was also the year, I believe, I did a movie with Gregory Harrison and Terrence Knox from Tour of Duty.
Yeah.
And
my other favorite show.
And it was called what was it called? Oh, I just forgot what it was. But anyway, Ray Walston, my favorite Martian, was in it, and my character kills him.
You killed Pa Walton.
I killed my favorite Martian, Ray Walston. I killed him. Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, but the thing is that I got to work on so many things with a lot of people that I grew up watching on television. I mean, I did in '87. Speaking of David Rasche, by the way. We won an Academy Award together, David Rasche and I. How
Really?
about that? Yes, we won for best live action short called Ray's Male Heterosexual Dance Hall. And yeah. And I played the guy that invented, I think, the Frisbee and coined the phrase "Have a nice day." So that was my character. But also, it was maybe that was 1990 as well. Was Earth Angel with Mark Hamill, and who was great, and Cindy Williams from Happy Days with Laverne and Shirley. I played her boyfriend. Eric Estrada, Roddy McDowall.
That's just a who's who.
Oh yeah, and Mark Hamill was great. When I was doing Hard Knocks, it was after we'd already been on the air, or we were currently on the air. But I was already done shooting it. I went to this charity event that was at the Sugar event, at the Sugar Shack in West Hollywood on Pico. And I look over and there's Mark Hamill. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Mark Hamill. And I got to go introduce myself. So I get up and I walk to him. And as I'm putting my hand out, I'm about to open my mouth and introduce myself. He goes, "Nick Bronco, I know who you are. My son and I love your show, Hard Knocks." And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Anyway, so that's Mark Hamill. So we chat, we caught up a bit on Earth Angel, and because he loves and was collecting comics as I was, and so we were talking about comics and stuff like that. But he's such a great actor, and that was a very, that was a kind of an underrated TV movie. Earth Angel with Kathy Podwell in the lead role, but he was so good in that. But he's always good. Yeah. So, and then, and there was another thing I did in '87 called Dr. Paradise, where Sally Kellerman played my mom from MASH. Oh, yeah. And Frank Langella played my uncle.
Skeletor
himself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I've been like Xander Berkeley was in that, Hiram Kaftan. I mean, there were so many good actors in that. And we only did the one episode. That was one that CBS thought was going to get picked up, and we didn't. Yeah, because most of the series I did were short-lived. They always did like between, just the pilot, or they did 13 episodes. And that was just, my luck. The only one that went, I didn't go with it, but anyway, yeah, it's been a good ride for sure.
Well, naturally, this all kind of leads in 1990. It leads to Emilio Estevez's cult movie, Men at Work. I've never met a person who does not love this movie. It is a guilty pleasure at its finest.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, you played the role of bicycle cop Jeff, a new partner to sadistic bully Mike, who was played by John Putch. These two characters were just the perfect counterparts towards Charlie and Emilio's characters. Was this an audition job?
Yes, it was an audition job. And John Putch, it was funny that he got the other role as well, because we were friends already, and we played basketball at the Hollywood Y, which is where I made a lot of my friends. And John Putch, he was Gene Stapleton's son, from All in the Family.
Oh yeah,
Archie Bunker. That was fun because we were shooting the first scene, and I went to Emilio and we're rehearsing it, and I had a line or two, in every scene. They were predominantly John Putch was kind of like more of the lead cop, and I just always had a line or two in the scene, in all the scenes as well. And I just was thinking about it, and I said to Emilio and John, I said, you know what? What if my character just never said anything? What if my character just really had it in for the boys? I mean, like he was it was his life was to get these guys. And if he could, he would just physically just put them in the dirt. And what if he was just always just like in Charlie's face, just staring him down? And Emilio goes, wait, you want to give up your lines? You want to give up I've never heard an actor say he wants to give up his lines to no lines. I go, well, I know but I just think it'd be more powerful. I think it'd be more interesting if that was Jeff, if he was just always, there. And he goes, okay, let's do it. And John goes, yeah, that would actually be funny. And so that's how that part of it came about. But we had so much fun, like, doing the slides, skidding into the stop. That was all us. Using the hand signals when they turned a bike. That was all us. And he was just, that was the thing about Emilio was he carries himself so well, and his self-esteem is so, like, for example, we were getting ready to shoot a scene, and we were on a little bit of a break. And then Emilio walked up to us and he said, hey guys, I wrote this, of course, but I have this scene coming up that we're going to shoot later, and I wrote it, and it's funny, but I'm having a hard time making it funny in rehearsals. Can you guys help me out? And we're like, yeah, of course. And so we, read the scene with him, and we helped him, make it funny. And he's like, oh my God, that's great. Of course. Okay. Thank you guys. But that's his confidence. Yeah. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. And he was just such a pleasure, really, to work with.
So was the chemistry there with John Putch right from the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we played basketball together. We were already friends.
One story that I've heard from obviously my friends there in the family is that Charlie played a prank on Emilio by telling them that he'd punched a paparazzi in a restaurant the night before. Do you remember this story?
No, I don't. No,
okay,
tell me the story.
I'll tell the story. So yes, Charlie decided it'd be hilarious that he would go up to Emilio and on a day of shooting and basically tell a little white lie that, I've punched a paparazzi while I was out in a restaurant last night. But Charlie apparently went a bit further than that, in that he actually hired two guys in police uniform to come and arrest him mid-scene while they were filming. So naturally, they're in the middle of shooting a scene. Then these two officers show up, come and get Charlie, handcuffing and taking away. Emilio is there like, what's going on? This is, let's figure this out. Hang on a minute. And the police drive Charlie away. These two guys drive Charlie away. And everyone's there like, oh my God, what's happening? And the only reason they knew it was a joke, because then Charlie came back with the two officers laughing his head off. But they actually had him fooled for the entire time, and Emilio really believed his brother was getting arrested.
Oh my God, that is genius. That is a genius prank. Wow.
Yeah, I always wondered if you'd heard about that.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I'm actually surprised I haven't heard that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one shot in Men at Work involves John Putch's bicycle falling over mid-scene. Now, was that a happy accident that made it into the movie, or was it set up?
It was set up.
Yeah,
that was a setup.
I was so hoping that wasn't.
Yeah, no, that was just one of our ideas, John and I. We were always just trying to come up with weird stuff for these guys. And we actually, I remember having a string on the bike to pull it over. Yeah, that would be awesome if that was an accident.
It's because of the way it instantly cuts. As soon as it happens, it cuts to a close-up of the both of you looking at each other. And I thought, that's got to be a mistake that they've just said, let's go with it and just do a quick shot. But obviously, just adding on to that, this is also a scene later on with the guy who was playing the dead body. And you guys
Daryl
are basically...
Larson.
Yes, you guys are accosting him while Keith David is basically working the arm to make it look like he's alive. And it looked like such a hilarious scene. I can imagine that was not a one-taker, right?
No, that was not a one-taker. That was at night, right? The scene at night? I think it was at night. We pulled him over. A day.
No. I'm sure it was on a day when they were actually doing the garbage round and found his body. And they just placed this cowboy hat they found in the trash on top of his head.
Yeah. There were so many wonderful actors in that. Daryl Larson, David Keith, and Keith David.
He's not the only person who's got that name mixed around. There are two different actors with the same
completely different
names.
actors. Yeah, so that was fun, and then Dean Cameron from he did Back to the School, and I think Better Off Dead. He was Dinner Summer School. He was a wonderful actor. Yeah, they just surrounded themselves with really good actors. Leslie Hope was the woman, the redhead in that, and she was great. That was just a really fun movie. Do we talk about the ending?
Yes, that's actually my next question.
Yeah, we're past spoiler territory.
Yeah. So how did they approach? How did they approach you and John about the infamous roundabout scene?
I can't believe I did that twice. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway, so listen. Yes. So it was hilarious. I mean, there was like talk. I had a mustache that I grew, but there was talk between John and I, and who's wearing boxers, who's wearing briefs, who's on the top, who's on the bottom. We're just like, oh my God, nobody should really be privy to this conversation. I'm glad it wasn't recorded. Well, it actually probably was. That would be horrible. Anyway, so they film the scene and they lock us on there, and that's where you leave us. So they finished filming, and then like maybe a month goes by, maybe even two, and I get a phone call, and they go, "Hey, everybody loves you guys. We want to film a tag scene of you guys. Is anything changed about you guys?" And we're like, I'm like, no. You have to call John. Yeah, we did already. And so we go to shoot this scene, and it's the next morning, and the sun's coming up, and we're in the makeup trailer, and they go, "Oh my, Tommy, where's your mustache?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I forgot. I shaved my mustache." So they had half an hour to cut hair off the back of my head and glue it on my lip to create this mustache. And if you look at it, they did an amazing job, considering that they had to glue my own hair onto my lip to recreate the mustache. And then they had the dog, come and piss on us. Not really, but the way they shot it, it looks like he's pissing on us, and it was actually really funny. But that was really good times. Men at Work, man. And see, nobody knows it. I think as Men at Work as they know it as the Garbage Man movie. Oh, you know the Garbage Man movie? Oh yeah, the one with Emilio and Charlie. Yeah.
Well, at least you can pull off a mustache. I will say this: I can't. I look good with a beard. If I've just got a mustache, I look like some kind of registered sex offender. It's horrible.
Well, look at Steve. You are you're doing yourself a disservice, because maybe the big bushy porn stash would not look good on you, but the pencil thin looks great on you, man. I've seen it. I've seen a picture of you with more of the pencil thin. Very, very striking. Very becoming.
Yes, that'll be one of the ones which Andy's doctored. Anyway, so...
It's true. No, it's true. It is.
There are many that we can't even show. But anyway, Round about this time, you were mixing comedy roles with horror roles,
Yes.
leading to a role in Steve Martin's now legendary comedy attack on the LA lifestyle, LA Story. Now, it's a movie that doesn't get discussed as much as it should do, really. So how did you land the role there?
Yeah, that was, again, an audition for Mindy Marin, who had me in for a bunch of other stuff as well. I got the role, and it was funny because at that famous lunch table scene, there, and they had some scenes that were cut out, of course, but one of them is there's an earthquake that takes place, and the famous Angeline, and all the billboards in LA, and the very big boobs. They have her eating lunch there during the earthquake, so you can only imagine what that was.
Oh, she'll have someone's eye out.
Yeah. So, but that didn't make the final cut in the movie. But that was there. It was shot, so it's somewhere. But in that thing, they had so many great comedic actors. I mean, it was Steve Martin, of course, and sitting next to me was Amon, David Bowie's wife and supermodel.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But you also had Larry Miller and Pollock and Sam McMurray from the Tracy Ullman Show was great. And there were just so many comedic actors at that table. And at one point, we finished shooting the scene. And then the director, Jackson, comes over and he says, okay, listen, we have it. Let's just have you guys just all improv. You're all so funny. Just improv. Just do some stuff. And I'm like, and I just felt like all of a sudden all the pressure. And I'm just like, wow, these guys are like professional comedians. And I went, you know what? You're the one that stands out. These are all super cool people that are dressed cool, look cool, and you're the cop in your street blues. And so play that up. Play up you're the sore thumb, sticking out like a sore thumb here. And I just played that up. And then it worked for the scene. I also love that when they do the thing where they do the camera shot that comes around and they take all the orders for coffee, and which was the joke at the time because that now it's like a double frappuccino with a caramel macchiato, cherry on top thing. The camera comes to me and then I order the double cappuccino ice cream. And I loved it because the camera was coming around from right to left. And it's coming around. So I look and I order looking over my left shoulder, but then I turn over my right shoulder to go like, oh, hey, did you get my order? And I'm like, there we go. I got a little extra screen time with this is my order. And then turning over my right shoulder. Did you get that? And I was like, a proud little moment for me. I got a little extra screen time. But there was something that I did. And we were getting ready to walk out, Steve Martin and I. We were ready for the shot, and we're face to face, getting ready to shoot the shot. I don't remember what the shot was, but we were face to face, getting ready to agree in order to say action. And he without even looking at me, he's just like right in front of me, and he just says, "I saw the dailies from yesterday. Great job, really funny." I'm like, "Wow, thank you."
That's cool.
And I was just like, "Thank you," and that was it. I'm like, "That was cool." That was cool. Steve Martin. Wild and crazy guy. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, of course, LA Story also featured two captains of the Enterprise in Patrick Stewart and Scott Bakula were in that movie. You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
This would not be the only time you have a run-in with a captain of the Enterprise, right?
Brace your girdles, people.
Oh my God. Okay.
He so thought I wasn't going to raise this story, but damn right I was.
Yeah, you did. So again, hey, talking about a callback, working with my buddy, John Putch again.
Yeah.
John Putch played the 21st century cameraman, and I was the reporter. And by the way, I'm on 2 trading cards. How about that? I'm on 2 Star Trek trading cards. Yeah.
This is for Star Trek Generations, of course. I'll mention.
Yeah, Star Trek Generations. And by the way, that was the first movie that combined the old cast and the new cast. So that was pretty cool. And again, that was my dad's favorite television show growing up was the original Star Trek. And going to football or basketball or baseball practice if I had to get my dad, I had to remember to get him to take me to practice so he could and get back in time before it started. Because if it had started, he was not leaving the set, and I would just have to be late. That's how important Star Trek was to him. So this was a big deal to be working with these people from the original Star Trek. And by the way, lovely people. They're all so cool, except the one guy. And I'm not afraid to call him out. But so we're on the Enterprise, right? And what was cool about this is that they do it the old school way. So the whole thing is built on hydraulics. So they move the hydraulics when the ship's under attack. And then you're also supposed to then, do your weird dance move, like, oh my God, we're going to die, the whole thing. And you're moving your body back and forth and, you're trying to keep yourself, standing up and not falling down. And before we shoot this, the first AD comes down and says, all right, just a reminder to everybody, the railing, it's just wood and it's not very well supported. So please don't throw your weight on it. All right. Does everybody understand that? I'm going to say it one more time because it's important. Okay. It's just made out of cheap wood. It's just painted to look like metal. It's not really, and it's not well supported. So don't put any weight on it. Okay. All right. We're shooting in 5. So we could go to shoot the scene. I'm right below the railing. John Putch and I are sitting right below the railing. And up above us is Captain Kirk. And they start shaking it, and he throws himself, his big body throws himself on the railing. And the railing, of course, gives away. And where does he fall? He falls on me. He falls on my back. I actually break Captain Kirk's fall. And he comes then off me and then rolls onto the ground and pops up. And everyone's like, oh! And everybody just stops. And there's dead silence. And he pops up, and then everyone's like, woo! Everybody's applauding, and I'm in this crumpled mess on the ground, because this huge dude just threw himself like virtually on me with the railing, the wood railing. And I'm like, oh my, and nobody's asking me if I'm okay. He doesn't turn around and go, dude, I'm sorry. Wow. I can't believe I did that. Are you okay? No, he just goes on and, he's taking bows and walks off the set, and everybody follows him. And then they're going to take a little break, and everyone's walking off, and I'm still in a crumpled mess going, hey, is anybody going to ask me if I'm okay? Not one person.
All I could just picture him is just looking like Zap Brannigan from Futurama, just the girdle bursting and like the hairpiece flapping to one side. and then just kind of like springing up, getting ready to karate chop someone.
Yeah, I did. I saw a chiropractor for 6 months after that. My back was so bad.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I didn't say anything to anybody. It was all good. Moving on. But I was just surprised that no one was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, no, just moving on. You're an actor.
Well, at least you're the guy who saved Captain Kirk. Put it that way.
By the way, yes. I mean, he could be in a wheelchair today for all we know.
There's got to be a Star Trek wiki out there somewhere that has Tommy Hinkley as reporter and a little asterisk, saved Captain Kirk.
Yeah, you know what? There should be. Thank you for tabling that.
Yes.
I
know what you're doing after the show.
If no one else is writing it, write it yourself.
That's right. Tommy Hinkley, Wikipedia.
Well, just prior to your captain saving abilities, you had a major role in the series Mad About You as Jay Selby, the best friend to Paul Reiser in the show. This was short-lived, even though the series went on for 8 seasons, right?
Yep.
Well, that's not done. Yeah.
That's our question.
Yeah. It's not even a question. I'm not even the one that writes these. It's you.
See, I write it really long so you get the shortest response possible.
Okay, how was working on the show? Because I know it was like a big deal.
It was a big deal. And, I did a lot of series that I thought were really, really great series, and they just didn't go for whatever reason. And this was the one show that I knew was going to be great. When we did the pilot, it's so funny how things, David Bowe, who did the part of Mountain in Back to the Beach, when they moved me up to the lead, then the part of Mountain opened up for Back to the Beach, and David Bowe got that part. So then flash forward to the audition for Mad About You. And David Bowe was reading for the part of Jay Selby right before me. And this was for producers. So Denny Jacobson and everybody was in there. And I was next after David. And he came out and he had his shoes off. So he took his shoes off in the audition. And he came out with them in his hands. So then I was like, oh. So then when I went in, they called me and I took my shoes off and came in with my shoes in my hand. And immediately the place just erupted in laughter that I did that. And I ended up getting that role. But I knew when we shot the pilot, I knew it was going to go because their chemistry, Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt's chemistry was so great that there was no doubt in my mind this was going to get picked up and it was going to go. And it was great. I had so much fun on that show. Richard Kind, Andrew, I think as you know, already is a dear friend of mine. And we go back a long way, even well before that. And Ann Ramsey, from A League of Their Own, among many other things, is a friend. And Helen I haven't talked to in years, but she was a friend as well, and super cool. And I had a great time on that show. And then it just went sour, and I can't really tell you why. It just went sour, and it ended badly. And it's still something that I think about. And Steve, I really appreciate you bringing it up, even though Andrew wrote the question. Something that still haunts me to this day. But
my question was about Jake and the Fat Man. I don't know where Mad About You came from.
Yeah.
Oh my God, good one.
That's right. Paint me out to be a complete and utter bastard.
You and your porn mustache.
Yes.
Well, Tommy, regardless of whatever, you still were amazing on that show.
Thank you. I love doing that show. And there were so many nice people on that show. And a lot of people, Leela Kenzel, who played Richard Kind's wife on that. And we're still dear friends. And it is and was a great show. Kudos to them for going, I think almost maybe 9 seasons, but, so again, just very fortunate. There was another series called The 5 Mrs. Buchanans, that I caught Mark Cherry, cause his next series was Desperate Housewives. I just caught him at the wrong time. We did 8 episodes and we had a great show. We had a great cast. But just caught him at the wrong time. I needed to catch him 1 series later.
Well, as I know you, Tommy, I know you won't mind me bringing up the fact that you have a long-time friendship with some guy called George Clooney. He's done all right with himself. He's landed some coffee commercials here and there.
Never heard of him.
He's got one of those faces that you recognize and stuff, But in all seriousness, though, this is a true Hollywood friendship. It's not one of these superficial ones. I mean, he was also the best man at your wedding as well. And you guys have done a lot of work together over the years. And was this friendship pre-ER? Because I know that you appeared in a handful of episodes of ER around that time. Yeah.
I could just about get teary-eyed right now just thinking about him because he has been such a good and dear friend for many years. And we have done some work together. And that is, for me, I'm so happy for his success because he is such a good dude. But then you mourn the loss of what we had before that, when we were playing basketball at the Y, all the time. And we were going thrift shopping together and we would go martini bar hopping when martini bars just started becoming big in LA. Where we're singing "Oh Danny Boy," and the drunker we got, the more we'd sing it, and everybody was so mad, like shut up. But then it came around full circle that then everybody started laughing because we wouldn't stop singing it, and then we're writing down the lyrics on napkins and passing it out, so we get the whole restaurant to be singing with us, "Oh Danny Boy," for like the 30th time. And, and so it was stuff like that that was so great. And, that now, we don't get to do that anymore. And he's just always, like he lives mostly in London and mostly in Italy. So I don't really get to see him as often, but, such a good dude. And yeah, we met before ER. When we met, I think he had a recurring role as Celia Ward's detective, sometimes boyfriend on Sisters.
Oh, wow. That is going back.
I think that's what he was doing at the time, or shortly after we met, he started doing that. But yeah, he's such a good dude, and we do go back a ways, and yeah. But you know what? We've done so I did 2 episodes of ER, which he didn't know I auditioned for, by the way. So he was surprised when I got that, and so that was a nice one for me. But he did his directing debut was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, the Chuck Barris story that Sam Rockwell played in. It was so great, and I'm on the deleted scenes because I was Hambone Man, and so you're doing all the slapping every part of your body, and so that was maybe going to be the soundtrack to the Killings. And it ended up being the Indian guy singing Elvis, the Elvis impersonator. They ended up doing that. But if you do see the DVD for Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you guys should see it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And a great performance, not just by Sam Rockwell, but Drew Barrymore in one of the best things she's ever done.
Definitely. Yes.
And I remember George said that he'd set up a screening for her privately at Warner Brothers, and immediately afterwards she called him on the phone and was just in tears, and said, George, this is the best thing I've ever done. Thank you. But anyway, I didn't make the final cut, but because George is a cool dude and my friend, he kept me in the credits. So then I got the residuals. But you can see me on the DVD in deleted scenes. See me do Hambone Man. Steve.
Okay.
He knows you haven't seen it.
Why is everyone picking on me? Oh, God. For some reason, when you were talking about the early days with George Clooney, all I was thinking of was just Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I met him after that.
He takes no credit for friendship on that movie.
No credit. No, he wasn't ready for me. He wasn't ready for me yet.
Based on that movie, no one else was ready for him either.
Yeah, he did. It was. God, we used to play flag football together. I'd put together co-ed football games on the weekends, and we'd play flag football. And he was doing From Dusk Till Dawn for part of that, and he had the huge neck tattoo that they had to kind of keep on all the time. So it was pretty funny back in those days. Anyway, yeah, he's a good dude.
Well, 2000 was another big year as you appeared in a radical live TV experiment at the remake of Failsafe, which was filmed and broadcast live from Warner Brothers Studios with quite a large cast of names. How were you approached, and how daunting was this spectacle during rehearsal?
Super daunting. It was 2 sound stages, 5 sets, and 24 cameras. And on my set was Sam Elliott, no mustache, by the way.
Surely not. It's a myth.
Yes. And
the mustache was on vacation.
He was on vacation. And Brian Dennehy and James Cromwell.
Wow.
And and that was just my set. And we rehearsed for 5 weeks. So I got to hang out with these guys for 5 weeks. And George cast me as the role as one of the pilots in the beginning. And it was just there's like one small locker room scene for me or something like that. But then somebody dropped out that had a larger part. And he came to me on one of our Sunday basketball days at his house. We'd play basketball 3-on-3 every Sunday with George and the rest of the boys. And then we'd barbecue and stuff like that. And then watch a movie at the end of the night in his theater. So it was a pretty great Sunday to look forward to. But one Sunday, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Tommy, somebody dropped out, but I need you to take this part over." And I'm like, yeah, sure, you bet. He goes, well, before you say yes, I mean, I want you to know it's a really tough paragraph of technical dialogue that you can't screw up. I'm like, oh yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Yeah, it's all good. It was dialogue from hell, and it is a long paragraph, and you can't get it wrong because it's giving the codes to the Russians on how to, like denuke it. And it's this long thing about radio frequencies and sliding and, megahertz. And for 5 weeks, I never screwed it up. And, and Brian Denny, he looks at me, he says it, I stand up and I say this thing. And for 5 weeks, I never screwed it up. And then we did a rehearsal the day of. We did a run through the day of the day, right before we go to shoot it that night. And I screwed it up for the first time. I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. I just screwed it up. And so it's live. So I'm on the set for that hour and a half or 2 hours that we're filming this. And I have a little line here in this scene, a little line here, a little 2 lines here. But I know I have this paragraph from hell of dialogue coming up. And I'm like, shit. And I'm, staying in character. And I'm like, okay, do it, do it for your dad, because your dad just passed away. So do it for your dad. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Your dad just died. Don't do it for your dad. That's kind of not right. And I'm like, we're getting closer. I'm like, you know what? Do it for George. You put a lot of trust in. You're like, oh, don't do it for anybody, dude. Just do it. Just do it. Just be in character, be in the moment. It'll take care of itself. And it comes up and he says a name and I freaking nail it. I'm Beautiful. Like, yeah. And at this time now, I'm still on camera. I'm like, don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. So, but during the rehearsal, there's one little scene I have where I have to check something. My character comes on, and someone that a soldier working under me has to double check this thing. And it's a real short scene. And the director comes up, we rehearse it, and he goes, "All right, you guys good?" And it really is like an exchange of like 2 lines, but it's an important part. And I go, you know what? Can we do it again? And the other actor looks at me and goes, really? You need to do it again? And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I need to do it again. And so we do it again. Now come to do it live. It comes to us. We're on live television. I say my line. His only line in the whole thing, he screwed it up. He screwed up his only line. And he leaves the scene first. And then I follow up behind him, and he's down halfway down the stairs because it was higher. It was on a higher level, and he's head between his legs. And I'm like, pat him on the back. Don't worry about it. I'm sure nobody noticed. It kept on going. I couldn't help it.
Yeah. And nobody did notice until you've just said it.
Yeah.
It's just roast him years later.
I guess it's like doing live theatre, though, isn't it? If you mess something up, as long as the rest of it can actually progress on properly, then the only people that actually realise that something's gone wrong are the people that are actually making it. The audience, they got no idea. They're just going along with whatever's being said. Yeah.
It was. I think it did well. I think it should have done better. It should have been big because it was so huge and it was so good and there were so many great actors in it and everybody did a great job. And it really was a who's who. And the other thing is that all the family and friends were across the lot in a big theater watching it live with us. But the thing was, what they didn't tell them was the screen would go black during a commercial. But nobody told the audience that, the friends and the family. So when it went black, they thought something happened, like something went wrong. And everybody was all panicked, like, oh my God, what's happening? And everybody's, and Tracy said it was just like, oh my God, what's happening? But when I came out afterwards, there was a big, huge party that George threw, because that was George's baby. And there was just a huge party. And I just saw my wife and I just broke down in tears of just all that pent up for 5 weeks and building up to that live moment. And then actually, owning it was pretty great. Now, obviously from my stories, I cry a lot. So,
it's all right. We save it for the end of year best of. Yeah, it's just going to be Tommy crying after every question.
The same year, you're shooting the family movie, The Little Vampire, over in Scotland, where you play Jonathan Lipnicki's father, Bob Thompson.
Yes.
Yes. And you are chewing the scenes with Richard E. Grant and Alice Krieg, two Shakespearean-style actors in a kids' movie. Well, how was that?
It was fantastic. Karsten Lorenz was one of the producers on that movie, and they were looking at auditions and of going through the auditions of the people that were auditioning to play Jonathan Lipnicki's father, Bob Thompson, as you had said. And I was a big Los Angeles Clippers fan because I'm from San Diego and they were the San Diego Clippers first. So I've been a Clipper fan for a long time. And I would go to the games. I had season tickets and I would dress in all red. I'd have red pants on. I'd have a red, a warm-up jacket on and, a red cap. And I would be dancing. They put me up on the Jumbotron. And I showed up to this audition dressed in my Clipper red because I was on the way to a Clipper game. And all of a sudden, he's going through the auditions and he goes, wait. Go back to that last audition. He goes, I know that guy. That's the guy that's dancing on the Jumbotron at the Clipper games. Yeah, hire that guy. That's how I got that role. And so this was amazing because I got to spend my summer, the whole summer in Edinburgh, Scotland, shooting this movie. And they put us up in a flat that was the window in the living room looked out upon the Edinburgh Castle. Like that was my view up on the hill. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. Now it's funny that you shoot a vampire movie that largely takes place at night in Scotland in the summer when you have 18 hours of sun.
That's kind of like the mentality of Hollywood, though, isn't it? You shoot day for night, you shoot night for day, you winter for summer.
Yeah, I'd never seen so much Duvetine in my life. But so when we were Duvetine, for people that don't know, is the black cloth that you'd use to block out the light. Anyway, so when we were checking into the hotel, which we ended up staying in, Alice Krieg was there, and I'm like, oh. And I was, in love with Alice Krieg from her, from her many movies, and she was the young actress in Chariots of Fire, and so I met her. I'm like, oh, hi. Miss Krieg, I'm Tommy Hinkley, and I play Bob Thompson. And I remember I loved you in this movie. And, it's just really nice to meet you. And blah, blah, blah. And she's just looking at me with like her mouth is just slowly just like dropping. Like, oh, my God, who is this guy? And then I just kind of slowly just like, oh, just excuse myself. And then she, carried on, and then she left to go to her room. And I went, oh my God, did I just embarrass myself? And she goes, I think she thought you were charming. And I'm like, oh no, Alice Krieg. Richard E. Grant was great too. I mean, he used to set his farts on fire for the kids.
That's so Widnall.
By the way, that's one of the all-time great movies, Whitnell and I. Love that movie.
Yeah, I think you've just shattered the illusions of Richard E. Grant fans all throughout England who just see him as like the shining example of like
of a proper English gentleman. Yes. Now we know he does what I used to do in my late teens. Yeah.
Lighting his farts on fire. Hi, I'm Richard E. Grant. I light my farts on fire. By the way, I mean, he is... he can get away with that because he's such a good actor. I mean, he's good in everything. And he lights his farts on fire.
Don't try this at home, children.
No, do not. I would never. I would never do that.
I'll show you what's in your toolbox.
Yeah, that was fun because I got to take Tracy with me, my wife, and our daughter Katie, who was just 5 months old at the time. So you can imagine her in a stroller on where every street is cobblestone. You're this little that was hell on Katie. Yeah, that was fun.
That's it. That's it. The story's never going to get any better than that.
Oh.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. There was a wonderful scene that I still put on my reel of us playing golf, and they had this expensive camera shot from a helicopter, a master shot of us walking onto the green. And you see it's on a cliff, and you see the ocean, and it's just this beautiful shot, and it's a beautiful day, and we're just have our polo shirts on, and that's it. Now they go to shoot the scene. That was the expensive master shot that they're going to open the scene with. Well, when they go to shoot it, it's overcast and freezing, and towards the end of the day, but we can't have jackets on because we have to shoot this scene that's actually got some length to it. So Jonathan is actually, his lips are turning blue because it's so cold. And so it's like, you know what, let's just shoot his stuff, and I'll just, we can shoot my stuff a little bit later, but let's just get his stuff done. But it was interesting because you see the scene, you don't really notice it because the scene's good and the movie's good. But, if you do think about it, it was a sunny shot, opening shot, and then it's this windy kind of overcast shot the scene's shot in. But that was interesting, to trying to keep him warm, and it was hard for him to pronounce the words because his lips were blue. But he did great. He was really he's actually was a really good young actor for sure, no doubt about it.
That's basically like your Salford weather, except someone actually stole your jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show is not complete without a dig at Salford.
Yes.
Okay, well, over the 2000s, you're appearing in a slew of movie projects, such as you mentioned, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Ocean's 13, and as well as that, you're also doing cutting-edge shows like The Shield and NCIS. Then you land the role of Hardleg in Clooney's football comedy Leatherheads, which I don't think is a bad movie. It just struggled to find an audience. Now, what can you tell us about the project?
That was one of the great experiences. Back to the Beach being one of my best experiences, and The Little Vampire being another great experience. But this one is definitely up there, if not maybe the best experience, because it really was like it was almost like this fraternity of guys, and I was never in a fraternity, so I don't know exactly what that was like. But this was, I imagine, like that, because look at half the movie takes place in the newsroom, and the other half takes place on the football field. So we were only working half the time. So it's all these guys that are there, just running around. So we were hanging out all the time. We'd go to lunch together. We'd do dinners. We'd be drinking together. We'd be bowling together. We'd go to movies together. And, and we get per diem. You get $100 a day per diem. So you got an envelope full of cash, full of seven $100 bills. And so we were like, this is the life. This is like the actor's dream. You're only working half the time, and then we're just running around like a posse. It was great. And, Renee Zellweger was awesome. She is so good and such a nice person. But she would hang out with us. Not a lot, but there were a couple times she just like, hey, I'm not working today, and you guys aren't either. You guys, what are you guys doing today? I want to join you. Like, we're actually bowling. Great, can I come with you? Like, yeah. She was actually just a great hang, and just like one of the guys hanging out. She was really, really cool. But that was a great movie. It was really, really a fun movie, and really, really, really well done, I thought, by George. And he was great in it, of course. And John Krasinski. I mean, their chemistry was great as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has a great cast. When you look back on it now, I mean, it's got so many award winners in it. Obviously, Renee's won Best Actress since for her Judy Garland role. It was Best Actress, wasn't it?
Stephen Root.
Yeah,
Stephen Root.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Duvall. I think it was it Jack Thompson? I think maybe played the editor. Of the paper.
It was an amazing cast, and it's just a shame that movie just didn't get kind of just a more fond remembrance than it does.
Yeah. Jonathan Pryce was in it.
Yep.
Oh God, I forgot about Jonathan Bryce.
Yeah. Yeah. So many great actors. Yeah. You know what, Andrew and Steve, I think that because he made a screwball comedy, but I think that he was so religious to that style of filmmaking, I think, to a point to where he did really recreate a movie from the 1930s and 40s that might have had Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn in it. And, and I think that the present day audiences, I think that they need something that's a little bit, a little bit more edgier. Maybe it has a little bit more darker, a little bit that doesn't quite play as well with today's audience. Maybe, possibly. I'm just trying to imagine, because it was such, I thought, a beautiful and well-crafted movie and funny.
Yeah, I think the comedy these days kind of became less sophisticated. Around the time, it's all American Pie, Dude, Where My Car, Shallow Hal, all of those type of movies. And nowadays, a lot of comedy movies are just improvised. They'll take about 20 different takes of say something this, say that, and just latching on to something that's kind of funny. Whereas an actual structured comedy, that measures the laughs and builds on the characters is not so much. Well, I guess it's kind of passé nowadays.
Look at the two Ghostbusters movies. There's a prime example.
Here we go with Ghostbusters.
Shut up. You've got the original, which was actually scripted, a little bit of improv here and there, but most of it stick to the script, do this, do that. And then you've got the Paul Feig thing that was just keep talking and then we'll let it around you. And
that Steve still hasn't seen.
No, I'm not going to either. So shut your face.
Wait, he hasn't seen what?
The remake of Ghostbusters with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig.
It's good. Steve, what are you doing? I thought it was really good. I loved it. Loved it.
Oh, that's got to be the most controversial statement on the show of all time. Steve's going to look back one day when it's pulled out of what's in the box and be like, if I hate this, I will never trust a word Tommy Hinkley says again.
What you're forgetting as well is I have the power to edit this.
Oh my God, so true.
So not long after Leatherheads, you took a step out of the business. You kind of slowed down, and eventually you left Los Angeles. You'd been married to Tracy Needham for quite a number of years now. She's an amazing actress. She's fondly remembered by myself as Meg Austin on Jag.
Yeah,
because I absolutely love that show. And John Ashton, who we're having on the show in a couple of weeks, was also in Jag as well. She also kind of took a bit of a step away from the business also, so it was a kind of a mutual decision by the two of you. You both moved out to Colorado. I believe you opened up a children's acting school.
And
that's right. How did this decision take shape for you both?
Well, it's an interesting thing about the business is that to have, I'm blessed to have the career that I've had and the people I've worked with. But all of a sudden, it just got slow for me, and I can't explain that. It's, instead of me auditioning once or twice a week or 3 times a week, I was now auditioning once or twice a month. And I wasn't working as often. And Tracy, they say that once an actress turns 40, and it was so weird. She was 39, had a pilot season where she tested for the lead in 3 pilots. And it wasn't a matter of if she was going to get one. It was like, how would she pick which one out of the 3 when she gets all 3? I mean, she was killing it. And it worked out that she didn't get any of them. Now, go 1 year later, the very next year, after testing for the lead in 3 pilots, she didn't have one audition for a pilot. Not even one audition. And that was just a year later. She turned 40. She's like, oh my God. And so all of a sudden we weren't working. And I might get a guest star gig, but that's, going to pay you X amount of dollars. And you got a house and a mortgage and a kid and your property taxes is so much. So we just decided, let's just raise our kid, who was in 3rd grade at the time. Let's raise our kid out of town. And so we went to Boulder, Colorado, and, more or less, took a sabbatical from the business. And Tracy left it completely to raise our daughter. And we started this acting school called Real Kids, Real with a double E. And it was really, instead of kids doing plays, where very often they're playing adults, or they're playing vegetables or animals in these little kid plays. we would shoot scenes, and we taught them how to be on camera and how to be present and to be aware and improv, which is the skills that will serve them as an adult. So we'd shoot scenes, and they would all help shoot them and be in them and do the crew roles, and they'd all be exchanging roles and parts. And it was really fun. So at the end of the sessions, they would get a DVD of these scenes that they shot, that my wife wrote, Tracy, and that she would edit them. And it was really fun. And we really loved that. But, we were poor business people because we're both actors, and we weren't making a lot of money doing it. We kind of break even, and it also, people would have a tough time sometimes paying it. Some people, and we go like, "Oh, don't worry about it, just come anyway." And so, half of our students weren't even paying, so we weren't good business people. But that was fun, and it was just time to get out. But then we spent 5 years in Dallas, and that's where I was tending bar for 4 years, which was a great experience. And then, but we were always looking forward to getting back. So as soon as our daughter graduated high school, we were back in LA, and that was about 4 years ago. And so, it's just about getting my career going again and, getting that ball rolling. I mean, because half the casting directors are not doing it anymore. And then there's a whole other half that are brand new that don't know me. So I hired a new manager, Bohemia Talent, and so we're going to get the ball rolling again, and it's exciting to be doing that.
Yeah, well, like you said, you're on the comeback now. You're making strides, getting back into acting, and you're really finding this new energy and experience as well. Yeah. At this later stage of age, as you mentioned to me kind of earlier this week, you're an actor. You show up. You do the job to the best of what the director wants.
Yes.
Okay. And that path back so far, it's going to be great for you. I know I definitely want to work with you because of the level of talent that you have, and hopefully we're going to work on that. Mm-hmm. So how have you found it so far with your new management?
Great. Well, I'm getting out more, which is good. It's interesting because now, and I'm sure a lot of actors say this, just by nature of what we do and who we are, but I am a room guy. I'm good in a room. I'm good thinking on my feet. And so, through this pandemic, which is, going to be, what is it, a year and a half now, maybe even coming up on 2 years, it's been not in person. It's been Zoom. It's been mostly self-tape. And so there's not that energy that you have, that you're just riffing with people. And so that's been a little bit more interesting, but it's also fun, as an actor, just being creative, of just coming up with interesting things to do on your self-tapes that maybe somebody else isn't doing, whether it's your shirt you're wearing, or, the glasses that you choose to wear, or the background that you're using, or the way that you shoot it. Maybe you're going to be looking a little bit slightly off camera, or just things that you can do to keep it interesting for the directors and the producers that are watching. So yeah, it's been fun.
Well, one way of thinking about things is that to succeed in this business is just to be happy with the opportunities presented. Would you say that was a good philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the thing is that it can't be about the end result. It's always about the journey. Because I think that if you're enjoying the process, and look, I've been doing a lot of auditions, in the last 6 months especially, and I've been doing really good auditions. They're going really well, and I'm having a lot of fun, and that's where I am in my career right now. Is I'm having fun and making fun, interesting choices, and enjoying the ride, because that's all part of it. I mean, it's not, you're putting yourself in it. I'm love my wife and my kid. They're awesome, and we're all together up here in Boise, and I look back on my career and the people I know and the people I've worked with, and the new people I've met. Hi, Andrew. And and it's good, and I could not be actually happier right now.
Well, that's absolutely great. Tommy, you've got an amazing career, and we've only really scratched the surface of it, really, by just pinpointing some areas. But I guess now with kind of movies and musicians and people actually starting getting projects underway now, people should be contacting Bohemia to get you in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be fun.
And if you have a kind of project for TV and you love the classics, then you definitely want to hear about Tommy's Nominate 5.
Oh! Now's the time to nominate 5.
Nominate 5?
Yes, nominate 5. Not 3 or 4 or 6 or 9. Now's the time to nominate 5.
I really did struggle to link
Wasn't
that one in.
as good as the earlier ones. No.
I know, but I heard Tommy go, ooh, over the music, and I think that should just stay in from now on.
Doesn't matter what the guest is, you just put his ooh.
Yeah.
You know.
That's going on our Halloween special.
Yeah, we get Charles dancing at some point. Yes, that's quite right. And then I played Tywin Lannister. Ooh, now's the time. Yeah.
Book him. Let's do it. Okay, so Nominate 5 this week. Have a bit of a special one because Tommy has a very extensive career. So I thought, what would be the Nominate 5 for Tommy if he could choose 5 of his best TV series that he's worked on for you people to go and find? I know a lot of people tend to go nowadays and research a lot of older material. Some shows are available on things like Amazon Prime, Netflix. Is there another one nowadays? I know HBO Max and Paramount are kind of racking up all their old shows to go on their platforms. So we want to find out what 5 Tommy would say. Are you ready, Tommy?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go for what would you class at number 5?
This is a really hard list, actually, because I've done a number of really fun shows. Some that I've starred in, was a regular cast members, and others were just guest stars. And it really is hard to pick out 5, but I will.
Just like every other guest, really.
Yeah.
Try getting it in a countdown.
So we're going to start with number 5, and then we'll work our way to number 1. Is that how we're doing this? Right?
Yep. Please.
Okay.
If we can pull that off, that would be amazing.
Okay. I'm going to go with number 5 as a guest star spot that I did on That 70s Show.
Oh, a classic.
Okay.
Yes, and one reason is because this was really a really funny scene. And I grew up watching him on television. Again, like a lot of people in my career, but Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And Danny Masterson, that both of them were in a car. And the episode is called Ice Shack. And I pull them over. And apparently they are have a bag full of drugs. And so I pull them over and I come up and I'm like, what's in the bag? And they're like, oh, like they're going to be thrown in jail now because of this bag of drugs. And then they pass me the bag and I look up and I look in it and I'm looking at them and it's dog food. It's a bag of dog food. And so then Tommy Chong says, well, if this is the dog food, then where are the drugs? Ooh. So that was number 5, working with Tommy Chong. Number 4. Yes, you have a question?
No. I was just going to say, what was number 4? But you already got there, so hit me.
Number 4, I'm going to go with Teen Angel.
Okay.
Teen Angel was a series that I did. They had already done a few episodes, and then they got rid of the mom, and then they brought in the father. So I play Casey Beauchamp, who's a minor league. He's been a minor league baseball player, which is why he wasn't in his son's life. And Ron Glass from WKRP in Cincinnati played God in this, and so I got to work with Ron Glass, who was lovely. And there was one time we were backstage, and he came out, and he was in this, like this great suit or something like that. And I'm like, oh, well, look at you, nappy dresser. And it just fell like this lead balloon. And I'm like, I'm looking at him like, what did I say? And he goes, I don't think you meant nappy. I think you meant natty dresser. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So sorry. Yes, natty dresser. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. Just an idiot. But that was a lot of fun. So that was number 4.
Yeah. Ron Glass, favorite of mine, Firefly.
Oh,
Rest in peace, Ron.
By the way, that is one of my all-time favorite movies. And that's very funny that you say that, Steve, because that brings me to my number 3.
Oh, is it Firefly?
Which is, nope. Number 3 is Angel.
Oh.
The
Joss
Buffy
Whedon.
spin-off.
Yes, with David Boreanaz, who was great. He was wonderful to work with. But this was apparently rumored as of all the episodes that they did in their many seasons of Angel. Apparently, this was Joss Whedon's favorite episode because they go back to the 1930s, 40s, and I played a detective.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yes. So that was great to work on. It was a really good episode, and it was Angel, and it was working with Joss Whedon, and that he loved the episode so much, and that I loved that movie Firefly. So I mean, Serenity is what I loved, the movie. So that was number 3.
Wow. Okay, where are we down to number 2?
To number 2. Now, this was not a hard one because it was my wife's show. Tracy Needham. It was her show, The Division, with Bonnie Bedelia and Nancy McKeon from Facts of Life and Lisa Vidal and Leela Rashawn, who was married to Anton Fuqua at the time, and still married. And that was fun because then I did like 5 episodes playing her, husband. So we were playing husband and wife, and it was really just. We've actually worked together a number of times, my wife and I, and usually it's weirdly I'm leaving her in practically everything we do.
Do you get into trouble then when you come home? You've left me again.
Is this some weird kind of role play that you guys have? Let's break up on someone else's dime.
Yeah.
That was a good show, though. I do remember that.
It was a good show. Yeah. Tracy did the first 4 seasons of that show. First 4 seasons. And her second partner was John Hamm from Mad Men, before Mad Men.
Wow.
And they had asked her to come in and audition the 5 guys that they had narrowed it down to. And so she auditioned with the 5 guys, and then they left, and then they pulled her into the office, and they said, so tell us who your favorite was. And she said, you guys did a great job because any one of these guys could play this part. But if you don't hire John Hamm, you're going to kill yourselves because he's going to be great.
Yeah, he's money.
Yeah, and she saw that back then. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a good eye for talent, obviously.
And they worked well together. They loved working together, and he's still a friend and a good dude and really a good actor. I mean, he's done so many great projects. From Sucker Punch to The Town and all kinds of wonderful stuff.
Good Omens recently as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay then. So we've just got one more left. What is your number 1?
I know what I want it to be.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to disappoint you, Andrew, because I think I know what you're going for. But I'm not going to say that one. That was going to be maybe number 5 or number 6 and this is not my number 1, that this would have been 5 or 6. What I think you wanted me to say, Andrew, was Golden Girls.
Nope. No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
So there's still hope. Okay. I'm still in the running.
So of course, number 1 for me would be Hard Knocks with Bill Maher. Because that was my first job, having never been on camera before. And they really looked out for me. They were doing the same producers, executive producers were doing another show at the time called Brothers, also on Showtime. And so they had me hang out on the set every day, just watching the actors work and watching how stuff works. And they were really just priming me and just giving me this really quick but intensive education on how to do this. And I remember there was one time when we were shooting the pilot, and we just weren't getting it. It didn't feel like we were getting it, and it just felt like something was missing. And the actress Babette Props that played my niece on the show, she was having a tough time too, and we were talking about it after one of the rehearsals, and it was late at night, and we said, you know what, let's go get a drink across the street at Lucy's El Adobe. And so we go over there and we're drinking margaritas, and we're drinking more margaritas, and we're getting drunker. And then we go, you know what, let's just go back. We go back. So we go back across the street, we get onto the set, and we just rehearse a couple things, and we start talking about stuff. And we just got this attitude of like, you know what? And this is what I would always say before I would do any scene. I would get out, and I just, right before we start the scene, before they say action, I go, kicking ass, taking names, fuck 'em. And then that would just like get me up and just own it. And then that was it. It just seemed like kind of a silly thing, but that worked. It just got me in the right space, and we just owned it from there on out. And it was really fun.
And it's Mark Hamill's favorite series.
Yeah.
And
good callback. Yeah.
I'm just so disappointed it wasn't Something Is Out There.
Oh, Something Is Out There, where I played the hearse driver, Ricky. Yes, I remember that, Ricky, with Olivia Diabo.
Yes.
Or was it Miriam? Was it Miriam or Olivia? I get them mixed up.
We might be the only two people who actually remember that series actually existed.
I have not got a clue what you're talking about.
It was a great... she's an alien, he's a cop, and they're hunting down aliens.
Yeah, Dan Cortese,
that's the guy.
That's right.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was very. I think it only did one season or something like that. But
that sounds like it should have a theme tune like "She's an alien, he's a cop, and they're hunting down aliens."
I just wrote it. I did the acapella version. It was a cheesy show. That's a great Nominate 5 for those people who want to track down Tommy. Obviously, Hard Knocks is a show that is kind of lost in a vault somewhere that I don't believe has gone on any streaming platform or anything so far.
Yeah. Just like the full version of Ricochet.
Brilliant. We nearly got through an entire episode without a Ricochet reference, and Steve just hammers that one in.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love it. Back of the net.
Release the Mulcahy Cup.
Release the Mulcahy Cup. Russell, we still believe.
Hey, before we wrap things up, I want to just go back to one of your recent podcasts, because I too, like Steve, had never seen this movie. And we could have tied it in earlier, talking about Richard Donner. Steve, you know where I'm going.
Oh, don't say it.
Yep.
Don't admit to it, Tommy. There can't be two people who have not seen the Goonies.
I have found a kindred spirit.
Yes, you have. I had not seen it, and I saw it because of your podcast.
So he's actually watched it.
I did just watch it, and it's wonderful. And to see Sean Astin, again, very young and being so great. I mean, you could really see that he was going to be something special. But that was a wonderful movie when you think about that. It was Christopher Columbus and Steven Spielberg wrote it. That's amazing that Richard Donner, directed it, and that it was Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. I mean, that was just like the dream team for that.
Yes, and also it was Joe Pantoliano's 70th birthday yesterday.
Oh, Joey Pants.
He is not 70.
I didn't believe it myself until I saw it on Facebook. But yes, because I'm connected with Joey. And,
my God.
Yeah. How weird is that?
Cypher is 70.
I know.
Oh, right. The Matrix.
Yeah.
The Matrix.
Anyway, enough of our callbacks.
Yes.
That's an absolutely fantastic Nominate 5. Go and hunt down these episodes with Tommy in and just see a guy absolutely loving life and having fun on TV as the Tommy that I know. Oh, there's the police. Shit. The founders.
Hide the bag. Hide the bag.
We're busted.
Quick. Hide those cigarettes. But yeah, Tommy, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I guess all we've got to ask now is what's in the box.
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Tommy's beaver has just had a heart attack.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh my God.
Well, anyway, Steve, once you've composed yourself, tell us the whole theme of what's in the box, please.
Okay. Well, it's going to be slightly disjointed this week because of what we opened the show with, but what's in the box is the point of the show where Andy tries to take me away from video games and movies like Street Fighter. And if you don't know what we're talking about, just listen to last week's episode. It's great. And tries to get me into more highbrow and more critically acclaimed movies. So he's going to dip his hand into a box full of certified fresh from Rotten Tomatoes movies and pull out a movie. Sorry, it was just I'll do that one again because it was distracted by the police siren going past.
No, leave it in.
Leave it in.
It's
Okay.
fine.
It's fine.
It's more urban. We're going ghetto this week.
Going ghetto. God almighty.
That's our next T-shirt. So yeah, as last week,
We are about as far from ghetto as you can possibly get.
well, it's when anyone says Salford that sirens just naturally go off. Anyway, so yeah, what's in the box last week? Steve got Flags of Our Fathers, which, to be honest, if you heard the beginning of the episode, you knew that this week we're going to do something special this week because Letters from Iwo Jima was made as a companion movie for that, which is told from the Japanese side of the Iwo Jima.
And after watching Flags of Our Fathers, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the other side of the battle is going to be like because, you know, it doesn't matter which side that you're on in a war. Everyone is fighting for their own cause. So everyone's the good guy. It's the opponent that's the bad guy.
Yes, and to be honest, the fact that this movie was the one out of the two of them that was more shoot in for Oscar appeal is one. The only problem being is, Steve, you actually have to read this movie because it has subtitles. It doesn't have any Ken Sawada-style dub that you can glean some enjoyment out of this movie by just watching it. You do have to actually watch the subtitles as well.
That's fine. I've got no problem with subtitles. No problem with subtitles whatsoever.
So tune in next week and you will be able to hear how Steve got along with watching Letters from Iwo Jima. Our guest is a bit of a surprise still, so we'll wait until next week for you to find out who it is. But in the meantime, Tommy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. As I always say this with every single guest, but we would love to have you back again to come in and join in on just some of the crazy stuff that we do end up doing along the lines.
Of course.
We
Of
may
course, a lot
even
of fun.
have a nice companion episode where we'll just bring a handful of our guests back and just have a round table. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
We'll bring in the actors for a day and we'll just sit back and watch them all talk to each other.
Yeah, you can do our jobs for us. It's fine.
Yeah, it would be great. It would be great to see Rebecca again.
Yeah, definitely. She's very hard at work at the moment. Seems to be booking herself out every other week. So I think she's basically got to put us in line.
Get in the queue.
Andy's absolutely right. You've been a fantastic guest. I cannot wait to get you back on. It's been a right left this week, and wish you all the best.
And back at you guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, well, I guess we've just got to cue some music to kind of bookend the show, Steve.
Yes. So for me, goodbye.
For me, I guess I'll just see you later.
Nice beaver.
That's so good. That was so good.
That's a little bonus for anyone who actually listens past the music.